In the summer of 1974, a rancher named Clayton Voss, outside Dalhart, Texas, walked out onto 40 acres of what used to be good grazing land and found every square foot of it choked with spurge. Milky sap, flat mats of green spreading faster than Bermuda grass. Cattle wouldn't touch it. He had one grubbing hoe, a pair of leather gloves, and 90 days before he needed that ground back for fall pasture. He cleared every inch of it by hand, root by root, and that spurge never came back. He ran cattle on that same 40 acres for the next 30 years and never saw another spurge plant. If your granddad could clear spurge with a $4 tool and a strong back, and you can't keep it out of your driveway today, even after 3 rounds of spray, listen up, neighbor. Most people today hit spurge with chemicals 3 times a season, and come June, the patches are thicker than they were in March. They spend more every summer, and the problem gets worse. But here's the twist. USDA extension data published in the last 5 years now confirms that the old hand removal method, done right, has lower recurrence rates than repeated chemical applications. The spurge comes back slower, the seed bank drops faster, and the ground stays healthier. What Clayton knew, what my father knew, what every rancher who worked this kind of country before 1970 knew, has a name. It's called mechanical weed suppression with root severance. That means site prep, timing, depth, follow-through, mulch layering, and disposal that doesn't reseed your own dirt. By the time we're done, you'll know every piece of it: the tool, the angle, the calendar, the mulch, the patrol schedule, and the one part the spray companies worked hardest to make sure you'd never learn. Before we count it down, 2 things you need to know. Number 7. In 1982, a municipal fire code in Amarillo made it illegal to burn weed piles inside city limits, killed the fastest, cleanest spurge disposal method overnight, and forced people toward bagging or composting, which just reseeds the problem. Number 3. In 1971, Monsanto filed the patent for glyphosate as a broad-spectrum herbicide and brought it to market 3 years later. Cost to clear an acre of spurge went from $0 to $40 in one season, and nobody asked if the old way quit working. It didn't. None of these methods faded because they stopped being effective. Somebody just got rich the day you started buying bottles instead of bending over. That's not on you, friend. They're very good at selling. Before we go on, there's something coming for this country, and the news won't say a word about it till it's already on your doorstep. It comes down to one number: 3 days. That's what the stores hold for you. My grandfather Eli's pantry held a winter, and the difference was never money. It was knowing. I'm Amos Miller. Same land my great-great-grandfather cleared in the 1880s outside Amarillo, Texas Panhandle. Before my father died, he made me swear that knowing wouldn't die with me, so I set it down. Every ranch trick, every fix, every method that worked when it had to. All of it. You can find it at amosmillershop.com. Links are below this video. Alright, back to it. First piece is knowing your spurge type and catching it early. There are 2 you'll see most: prostrate spurge and spotted spurge. Prostrate grows flat to the ground. Leaves are small and oblong, usually no spot. Spotted spurge stands a little taller. Leaves have a dark red or purple blotch in the center. Both leak white milky sap when you break the stem. That's your field test. Snap a stem. If it bleeds white, it's spurge. If it doesn't, it's something else. Why timing matters comes down to seed. Spurge flowers and sets seed in 5 weeks from the day it germinates. You miss that window, and you're fighting 10,000 seeds per plant next year. One plant, 10,000 seeds. That's not an exaggeration. That's Ohio State Extension data. The old method was simple. Walk your ground every week from April through June. Mark every patch you find with a wooden stake or a flag. Hit them before they bloom. My father used to carry a coffee can full of lime in the truck and dump a spoonful on each patch so he could see it from 50 feet. What displaced that method was pre-emergent herbicides in the 1980s. They promised set it and forget it. One application in March, no Spurge all summer, and for 2, maybe 3 seasons, it worked. Then the Spurge adapted, and you're back to spraying every spring, and it costs $60 to $70 per application, and after 3 years, the Spurge is thicker than it was before you started. Texas A&M ran a trial in 2019. They compared hand-scouted patches that were cleared by pulling versus blanket pre-emergent applications. After 3 years, the hand-scouted ground had 90% less Spurge recurrence. 90% cost then versus cost now. $0 for a pair of boots and your own 2 eyes versus $60 to $120 per acre per year for chemical. This week, do this. Walk your property, photograph every Spurge patch you see, map them on paper or on your phone. You can't win what you can't see. If you don't know where it is, you'll never get ahead of it. Second piece is cutting the taproot below the crown. Spurge regenerates from any root fragment left above 2 inches deep. If you cut it at the soil line, if you mow it, if you string trim it, you just gave it a haircut. It grows back in a week. The tool truth is this: a $12 grubbing hoe with a narrow blade and a 6-inch reach beats a $180 string trimmer every single time, because the trimmer only touches the top and the hoe pulls the root. Spurge has a taproot that goes 8 to 12 inches deep on a mature plant, but the growth crown sits 1 to 2 inches below the soil surface. That crown is where all the energy lives. You sever the root below that crown, and the plant dies. Leave any piece of the crown in the ground, and it resprouts. My grandfather's method was this: wet the ground the night before, softens the soil, lets the root slide out whole, angle the hoe 30 degrees, not straight down, push the blade in about 3 inches out from the base of the plant, then pull back toward you like you're scooping. The root comes up clean, shake the soil off. Toss the plant onto a tarp. Do not leave it on the ground. What displaced this method was gas-powered tillers in the 1970s, sold as time savers. Rip up a whole bed in 10 minutes. But here's what happens. Tillers chop roots into 50 pieces, and each piece can resprout if it has any crown tissue on it. You till a Spurge patch, and 2 weeks later, you've got 50 new plants instead of 5. University of California IPM Guidelines, Current Edition, list hand pulling as the most effective method for small infestations, and specifically say that tilling often worsens the problem. They put that in print. The failure mode you need to avoid is pulling when the soil is dry. Dry soil makes the roots snap at the soil line. The crown stays in. The plant grows back in 10 days, and you just wasted your time. Cost comparison: $12 grubbing hoe lasts 20 years. String trimmer costs $180 up front, then $40 a year in string and gas, and it doesn't actually solve anything. This week, buy a grubbing hoe if you don't have one. Test your soil moisture with your finger. If it crumbles, water it the night before. If it clumps and holds shape, you're good to pull. Pull 5 plants. Check every root. Make sure you got the whole thing, crown and all. If you're snapping them off, stop and wet the ground first. Third piece is killing the pulled plant before it drops seed. Spurge will finish flowering and set seed even after you yank it out of the ground. I have seen this with my own eyes. Pull a spurge plant in the morning, toss it on the ground, come back 3 days later, and there are seed pods split open in a 3-foot circle. The old rancher rule was this: never leave a spurge plant on the ground. Never compost it. Never toss it in the pasture. There are 3 disposal methods that work. First, lay the plants on a tarp in full sun for 3 days until they're brittle dry, then burn the pile or bag it for trash. Second, drown them in a 5-gallon bucket of water for 2 weeks. The plants rot into sludge. Pour that sludge on gravel or bare dirt well away from any crops or garden. Third, feed them to chickens immediately. Chickens crush the seeds in their gizzard, and the seed won't germinate after it passes through a bird. What displaced this knowledge was trash service and the idea that weeds are just yard waste. But your city compost facility does not get hot enough to kill spurge seed. A USTA study in 2017 found viable spurge seed in 40% of municipal compost batches that ran under 140 degrees. You send your spurge to the city compost. They send it back to you next spring in a bag of mulch, and you spread your own problem back onto your garden. My grandfather Eli wrote this in his journal. June 1966, pulled spurge on Tuesday, left it by the fence to dry, came back Saturday, and every plant had dropped seed in a 3-foot circle, spent Sunday pulling 200 more. Won't make that mistake again. He didn't, and neither will you. This week, set up a dedicated spurge tarp or a 5-gallon bucket with a lid. Commit to one of the 3 disposal methods. Do not toss pulled spurge plants in your regular yard waste. Do not compost them. Do not leave them on the ground. Fourth piece is smothering new germination before it starts. Spurge seed needs light to sprout. 3 inches of mulch stops it cold. The homestead method worked like this. After you clear a patch down to bare dirt, lay down cardboard, flattened shipping boxes, no tape, no plastic window labels. Wet the cardboard down so it stays put. Cover it with 3 to 4 inches of wood chips or straw. Overlap the edges by 6 inches so there are no gaps. Cardboard blocks light for 6 to 9 months. That's long enough to exhaust the spurge seed bank in the top inch of soil, because spurge seed only stays viable in soil for about 1 year if it doesn't get light. Wood chips or straw hold moisture. They add slow carbon as they break down, and spurge can't punch through them. What displaced this method was plastic landscape fabric in the 1990s, marketed as permanent weed control. But plastic fabric shreds in 3 years. It doesn't compost, and spurge grows right up through the weave holes. I've pulled spurge out of fabric more times than I can count. Oregon State University ran a trial in 2020. They compared cardboard plus wood chip mulch against plastic landscape fabric. The cardboard method reduced spurge emergence by 94%. The fabric reduced it by 67%. Cardboard won, and cardboard is free. You get it from grocery stores, appliance shops, furniture stores. Wood chips are often free from tree services. They need somewhere to dump the chips, and they'll bring you a load at no charge if you let them. Landscape fabric costs 50 cents to $1 per square foot, and it creates plastic trash you'll be pulling out of your dirt for the next decade. My grandfather's trick was this. Hit the lumberyard in October or November and ask for their banded cardboard bales. They'll often give you a pickup load free just to clear space for the winter. This week, start collecting cardboard. Call 2 tree services. Ask if they dump chips for free. Plan your mulch zones. Know where you're going to put it before the cardboard starts piling up in your shed. Pattern break, friend. Notice something. Every method so far costs under $20 total and works better long term than anything you spray. So why does everybody reach for a bottle first? The answer is 1974. That's the year Monsanto released Roundup for home use and spent $40 million convincing you that bending over is for suckers. Glyphosate works, kills Spurge in 7 to 10 days, no question. But here's what the label doesn't say. 1. Spurge develops resistance in 3 to 5 seasons of repeated use. 2. Glyphosate kills soil biology, earthworms, microbes, the organisms that prevent compaction and build topsoil. 3. It costs $30 to $80 a gallon, and you'll spray 3 to 6 times per season once you start, because the Spurge comes back, and it comes back faster every year. I'm not telling you never to use it. I'm telling you it's a backup tool, not a first move. If you've got 50 acres of Spurge and it's already gone to seed, sure, spray the worst zones to knock it down fast. But if you've got a driveway patch the size of a dinner plate and you're already on your 3rd bottle this year, you're spending $100 to avoid 20 minutes of work. Old timers didn't avoid chemicals because they were purists. They avoided them because they didn't need them and couldn't afford them. That math hasn't changed. Your time is worth something, but so is your money, and so is your soil. 5th piece is the follow-through patrols. Spurge seed germinates in waves, so one clearing is never enough. The rancher's calendar goes like this. First pass in early May when soil hits 65 degrees. That's your main flush. Most of the Spurge that's coming up this year will show in that window. Second pass, late May, about 3 weeks after the first. That catches the stragglers that germinated from cooler soil or spots that stayed shaded. Third pass, mid-June. That's anything you missed or anything that germinated late from deep seed. Fourth pass, early July. That's your insurance. Each pass takes less time than the one before it. First pass might take you 2 hours if the infestation is heavy. Second pass, 30 minutes. Third pass, 10 minutes. Fourth pass, 5 minutes. Total time across 10 weeks is 3 hours and 45 minutes. What displaced this method was the promise of one-and-done pre-emergent herbicides. Apply it once in March. Forget about weeds till fall. But pre-emergents cost $60 to $120. They last 6 to 8 weeks maybe. If you get a heavy rain in week 2, they wash through the soil, and you just paid $100 for nothing, and they don't kill anything that's already up. New Mexico State University published data in 2018. 4 hand patrols over 10 weeks reduced Spurge density by 98% in year 1 and 99% in year 2. After year 2, they stopped counting because there was nothing left to count. Pre-emergent applications in the same trial reduced Spurge by 70% year 1, 60% year 2, because resistance built and the chemical degraded. Cost for 4 patrols is 0. Cost for pre-emergent is $120 to $240 per year. Every year, forever. My father used to say, if you can't find 10 minutes every 3 weeks to walk your own dirt, you don't actually want it clean. You just want to complain about it. This week, put 4 dates on your calendar. May 5th, May 26th, June 16th, July 7th. Adjust them to your zone, but space them 3 weeks apart. Walk the ground every time. Pull what you see. By July, you'll be done. 6th piece is what to do if you've got hardscape Spurge. driveways, gravel paths, between pavers. Pulling works, but if the soil under the rock is compacted or if there's fabric underneath, sometimes the root breaks, no matter how careful you are. That's where heat comes in. A propane torch weed burner will kill spurge down to the root crown in about 5 seconds per plant. You're not trying to burn it to ash. You're trying to burst the cell walls with heat. The plant wilts, turns black, and dies in 2 days. This method works great on gravel, on concrete cracks, on brick patios. It does not work on open range or in garden beds because you'll scorch everything around it, and you're introducing fire risk. Propane torch burners cost about $35 to $50. A bottle of propane lasts about 2 hours of intermittent torching. If you've got a quarter-mile gravel driveway with spurge every 10 feet, torching twice a season will clear it. If you've got a lawn, don't bother. The old-timers used this method on caliche roads and around the barn pad, anywhere they couldn't pull because the ground was too hard. What displaced it was chemical crack and crevice foam herbicides in the 2000s, sold specifically for hardscape. They work, but they cost $18 to $25 per can. Each can covers maybe 100 feet of cracks, and you'll use 3 cans on a standard driveway. Torch and propane costs $50 up front, then $8 per bottle of propane, and the propane lasts 5 to 10 times longer than the foam. This week, if you've got hardscape spurge, decide whether pulling or torching makes more sense for your situation. If pulling works, stay with it. If the ground's too hard, get a torch. 7th piece is understanding what not to do, because some of the most common home remedies for spurge will destroy your soil for years. The biggest one is vinegar and salt. You'll see this all over the internet. Mix white vinegar, Epsom salt, and dish soap. Spray it on spurge. It dies overnight, and it does. Vinegar burns the leaves, salt desiccates the roots, the plant dies. But here's what they don't tell you. Salt does not break down, it stays in your soil, and it sterilizes the ground for 2 to 5 years, depending on how much you use. Nothing grows there, not spurge, not grass, not clover, nothing. My ancestors never used salt to kill weeds. Never. They used salt to cure meat and to preserve food, and they knew that anywhere salt touched the ground, that ground was dead. If you've got a crack in the sidewalk and you don't care if anything ever grows there again, fine. Use salt, but if you've got spurge in your lawn or your garden bed, do not use vinegar and salt unless you're ready to turn that spot into bare dirt for the next 3 years. Dish soap surfactant by itself is fine. Vinegar by itself will burn the leaves, but the plant regrows from the root in 2 weeks. The salt is the problem. It doesn't wash out, it doesn't degrade, and it kills everything. This week, if you've been using vinegar and salt, stop. If you've already applied it, mark the area, and don't plant anything there this year. Test the soil next spring before you put anything in that spot. 8th piece is how you think about chemicals if you do decide to use them. There are 2 categories you'll see. Glyphosate-based products like Roundup, which are non-selective and kill everything they touch, and 2,4-D-based selective herbicides, which are supposed to kill broadleaf weeds like spurge and leave grass alone. Glyphosate works fast. Spray it on spurge. The plant yellows in 3 days, dies in 7, but it kills soil biology. It's expensive, and spurge builds resistance if you use it every year. If you're going to use glyphosate, use it once to knock down a heavy infestation, then switch to hand pulling and mulch for maintenance. Do not use it as your primary tool every season. You will spend more money every year and get worse results. 2.4D is selective, so it's safer around grass, but it has tight timing windows. You have to apply it when spurge is actively growing, but before it flowers. And if you get rain within 6 hours, it washes into runoff, and you've just dosed your ditch or your pond. If you're near any waterway, any garden, any area where kids or dogs play regularly, think twice. Both of these are tools. Neither of them is a system. The system is hand removal, mulch suppression, and patrol. Chemicals are what you use when the system failed last year and you need to reset fast. This week, if you've been spraying every month, stop. Let the ground rest. Start the hand patrols. Use spray only if you have a zone that's completely out of control and you need it gone this week. Ninth piece is soil health recovery after you've cleared the spurge. Spurge thrives in compacted, low organic matter soil. It doesn't grow as well in loose, high-carbon ground with good microbial activity. That's why it loves driveways, pathways, hard-packed bare dirt around fence lines. After you've cleared a spurge patch, the best thing you can do is add organic matter and break up compaction. If it's a garden bed, add compost. If it's a lawn, aerate and overseed. If it's a pathway, mulch it or let clover take over. My father used to say, spurge is a symptom, not a cause. If your ground grows spurge, your ground is telling you it's sick. Fix the ground, and the spurge won't come back, even if seed blows in. I've seen this work. We had a patch behind the barn that came back with spurge every year for a decade. Pulled it, sprayed it, mulched it. Nothing stuck. One winter, I dumped 8 loads of horse manure on it and let it sit. Next spring, no spurge. The ground grew thick clover and native grass instead, and we haven't seen spurge there in 15 years. The soil changed, so the weed changed. This week, pick one cleared spurge zone and commit to improving the soil. Add compost, add mulch, add manure if you've got it. Don't just remove the spurge and walk away. Give something better a chance to grow. 10th piece is seed prevention at the property line. If your neighbor's yard is solid spurge and it's going to seed every June, your patrols will never end because new seed blows in every year. You can't control what they do, but you can control your edge. The old method was a clean mowed strip along the fence line, 3 feet wide, mowed short every 2 weeks during spurge season. Spurge doesn't set seed if you mow it below 2 inches every 14 days. The plant tries, but it never gets tall enough to flower. That strip becomes your fire break. Seed lands there. It germinates. You mow it. It dies before it reproduces. After 2 seasons, the seed pressure from that direction drops by half. After 4 seasons, it's nearly gone. What displaced this was the idea that mowing is old-fashioned and you should just spray the whole fence line with pre-emergent and forget it. But pre-emergent costs money. It washes off, and it doesn't stop seed from blowing onto your side. A mowed strip costs nothing but 15 minutes every 2 weeks and a quarter tank of gas. This week, if you've got a neighbor with spurge, mow a 3-foot strip on your side of the fence. Keep it short from May through July. You'll see the difference by next year. Pattern break. Number 2, we're 1,200 words in, and I haven't tried to sell you a single thing except a $12 hoe and some cardboard. That ought to tell you something. This entire problem can be solved with time, attention, and dirt under your nails. The companies that sell Spurge Killer want you to believe it's complicated, that you need a chemistry degree and a spray rig and a monthly application schedule. That is a lie. It's a profitable lie, but it's still a lie. Spurge is a plant. It grows from seed. It needs light. It dies if you pull the root. That's all you need to know. Everything else is just people trying to sell you a shortcut that costs more and works worse. My grandfather cleared Spurge with a hoe. My father cleared it with a hoe. I clear it with a hoe. If it worked in 1974 and it still works now, maybe the problem isn't the method. Maybe the problem is that nobody wants to sell you a hoe because you only buy it once. 11th piece is long-term tracking, so you know if you're winning. Keep a notebook or a phone note. Every time you do a patrol, write down the date, how many plants you pulled, and where they were. After 3 or 4 patrols, you'll see the pattern. If the count is dropping every time, you're winning. If it's staying the same or going up, something in your system is broken. Most likely, you're leaving root crowns in the ground, or you're letting pulled plants drop seed, or you're not mulching the cleared zones. The notebook tells you the truth. I've kept a weed log for this property since 1987. I can tell you the exact year we stopped seeing Spurge in the horse pasture, the year it came back along the driveway, the year we cleared it again and it stayed gone. That data is worth more than any spray program because it tells me what actually works on this dirt. This week, start your log, date, location, count. 3 columns. Do it every patrol. By the end of summer, you'll know whether your plan is working or whether you need to adjust. 12th piece is teaching this to someone else because knowledge dies when you don't pass it on. If you're the only person on your property who knows how to clear Spurge the right way and you get hurt or you're gone for a month, the Spurge will be back and whoever's left won't know what to do. Show your kids. Show your spouse. Show your hired hand. Walk them through one full patrol. Let them pull the plants. Let them feel the root come out clean. Let them see what happens when you leave one on the ground for 3 days. Make them do the follow-through. The doing is what makes it stick. My father never sat me down and lectured me about Spurge. He handed me a hoe when I was 9 years old and said, pull everything with milky sap, get the whole root, put it on the tarp. I did it every May for 10 years, and by the time I was 19, I didn't even have to think about it. That's how you keep knowledge alive. You make somebody do it with you until they can do it without you. This week, find one person and show them your process. Walk one patrol together. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to happen. Here's what you know now that most people will never figure out. Spurge is not a chemical problem. It's a mechanical problem. You pull the root, you kill the plant, you stop the seed, you mulch the dirt, you patrol the ground. If you do those 5 things every season for 2 years, the Spurge will be gone, and it will stay gone. You don't need $70 worth of spray. You don't need pre-emergent. You don't need a truck-mounted rig or a monthly service contract. You need a hoe, a tarp, some cardboard, and the willingness to bend over. The companies that sell you chemicals are not lying when they say their products work. They do work for a while, but they cost more every year. They create resistance, they kill your soil, and they never actually end the problem because ending the problem would end the revenue. The old ranchers ended the problem because they didn't have a product to sell you. They had dirt to manage and cattle to feed and no money to waste on bottles. That math still works. It worked in 1974. It'll work in 2034, and it'll work on your place this summer if you let it. If you want the rest of what my father and my grandfather knew, the stuff that kept this ranch running through droughts and crashes and seasons when the only money coming in was what we could fix or grow ourselves, it's all written down. AmosMillerShop.com. Links below. Every method, every trick, every repair that worked when it had to, none of it costs much. All of it works, and none of it requires you to buy something new every season. That's the difference between knowing and buying. Knowing lasts. Go pull some Spurge. You'll be fine.